your news in your community. This is KRBC, Abilene's local news at 5.
He was my brother.
Yeah.
It's like an asteroid fell out of the sky.
The death toll continuing to climb. 58 are dead and more than 500 wounded, and what's being called the deadliest shooting in U.S. history. Good evening, I'm Samantha Jones.
And I'm Randy Turner. We thank you for joining us. Evil, horrific, and senseless, just some of the words being used to describe the mass shooting in Las Vegas overnight. Here's what we know at this hour.
A Nevada man opened fire on a crowd of concert goers from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Casino Hotel. Below, 21,000 people at the Route 91 Music Fest when 64-year-old Stephen Paddock unloaded into the crowd. When authorities stormed the room Paddock was in, they say he was dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot.
Today, an outpouring of remarks happening across the country, and the gravity of this shooting is sinking in. Dozens offering thoughts and prayers and condemning the man police say is responsible for Sunday's massacre.
He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil. Our unity cannot be shattered by evil. Our bonds cannot be broken by violence. And though we feel such great anger at the senseless murder of our fellow citizens, it is our love that defines us today and always will, forever.
House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, who just last week returned to Congress, you may recall he was one of the people critically injured after a man opened fire during a baseball practice for a charity game this summer. Today, Scalise reacting to the Las Vegas shooting, tweeting, "Jennifer and I are praying for the victims of this unspeakable violence in Las Vegas."
And former President Bill Clinton also reaching out over social media, tweeting, thinking of the victims and responders in Las Vegas. This should be unimaginable in America. And
here in the Lone Star State, Governor Greg Abbott issuing the following statement on last night's horrific shooting, saying, quote, "The news of this senseless act of violence in Las Vegas overnight is heartbreaking. Cecilia and I are beyond saddened by the tremendous loss of life. Texas mourns and prays for the victims of this tragedy and the entire Las Vegas community in this unimaginable pain." This shooting making history as the deadliest in America.
And though the numbers are still coming in, the Las Vegas shooting currently stands at claiming 58 lives with more than 500 injured. The second deadliest being the Pulse nightclub shooting that happened last year, killing 49, injuring 58. In 2007, 32 people were killed when a Virginia Tech student opened fire on campus.
And the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting back in 2012 killed 28 people, 20 of which were children. That same year, 12 were killed and 70 hurt when James Holmes opened fire in an Aurora, Colorado theater. And the Columbine High School shooting in 1999, that killed 15 students. We will have more coverage from the Las Vegas shooting in just a moment, but first we're going to get a quick check of weather. Randy, the start to this newscast, not so happy. How is that forecast looking?
Well, you know, as we look at the weather right now, rain chances back in the forecast. That's usually a happy occasion around here. But given the fact the area had significant rain last week, this rain chance may have come just a little bit too soon. Outside right now, you can see that we do have nice weather conditions. Our KRBC Skycam is showing partly cloudy skies here on South 14th Street out there at this time. We have current conditions being measured at the Abilene Regional Airport. We have 83 degrees right now. The wind still rather strong from the south at 16. Our dew point 63 degrees, so a bit humid. Skies mostly clear for now, but the forecast hinges on that disturbance moving into southeast Texas. It brings rain back to our forecast by this time tomorrow. So your day part forecast for tomorrow, 68 and mostly cloudy at 7 o'clock in the morning, and clouds and 78 by the noon hour. Then we'll have a 20% chance for some showers by 5 p.m. with a temperature of 81 degrees.
All right, Randy, while much is continuing to be learned about last night's tragedy, we are digging deeper to uncover information about the man responsible for this deadly shooting.
Who is Stephen Paddock. We're learning he was 64 years old, man living in a retirement community about 80 miles from the site of the shooting. But before calling Nevada home, Stephen Paddock lived in Texas. Tonight, KRBC hearing from Paddock's then neighbor, who admits he was a little odd.
He had an odd sense of humor. You didn't know if he was being sarcastic or he was trying to be funny. He's a nice guy. I mean, He was kind of quirky, but a nice guy.
And according to Paddock's brother, he was a wealthy man, money he earned from playing poker, who kept a low profile. He's also the son of a known bank robber who was on the FBI's most wanted list for 8 years. Paddock's brother admits to knowing he owned a handgun, but says he has no knowledge of any semi-automatic weapons.
He might have had one long rifle, but he didn't have any. I mean, he had no automatic weapons that I knew of at any time. There's no. It just makes no sense.
Today we are learning that police are still actively working a search warrant, but so far have found in excess of 10 rifles inside Stephen Paddock's hotel room. Authorities are saying that as of now they believe all of this weaponry was obtained legally.
They're also learning that Paddock was using the identity of a woman whom he lived with, 62-year-old Mary Lou Danley, who was not in Las Vegas at the time of the shooting. One Las Vegas sheriff says as of now they don't believe her to be involved, but of course will continue investigating.
We have located her out of the country. She was not with him when he checked in. We have discovered he was utilizing some of her identification, and we've had conversation with her, and we believed her at this time not to be involved. But obviously that will be, that investigation will continue.
This shooting a tragedy for so many today, and a close call for one woman who had tickets but ended up not going to that concert.
Yeah, Mindy Bailey is from Abilene but called Las Vegas home for the last 15 years. A schedule change at work prevented her from making it to that concert. She says she's now worried about the next time this may happen.
Honestly, after last night, you know, with all of the concerts and the shows and stuff that we put on down on the Strip, I'm hoping it doesn't stop our revenue for everyone coming in, but me as living here, I would be scared, honestly, to think if it happened last night, what's going to stop it from happening again.
Bailey's family still lives here in the Key City. She says after hearing about the tragic news, the first thing she did was call them and tell them that she was okay. We'll have more on her story coming up tonight at 6.
Another close call for a native Texan. Eddie Villanueva is from Roscoe. He's the drummer for the Josh Abbott Band, which had already finished playing their set when gunfire began.
Villanueva says that he was on his tour bus with another bandmate when they received a text message from their manager telling them to take cover.
Those gunshots, when you hear that assault rifle right there inside of your bus, and you know this thought that goes through your mind right now is like, wow, this is it. And I called my mom, my dad, my wife, talked to them on the phone, and you know, just told them, it was like, this could be it. And then you could just hear the gunshots still going on, rapid fire, thinking it's just right next to you.
No one in the band was hurt, but Villanueva says it was one of the scariest feelings he has ever experienced. For continuing coverage of this tragedy, right now we are live streaming from our sister station in Las Vegas on our website, bigcountryhomepage.com. And coming up tonight on NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt is in Las Vegas with more coverage of the Mandalay Massacre.
We've all been riveted by the videos that were taken by people in the crowd last night, the sound of the rapid-fire shots, people running in confusion. In many ways, we were all witness to what happened here last night, but only those on that field understand the depth of fear and the confusion. And in the light of day, we can see back at the Mandalay Bay an open window with the drapes occasionally blowing out. Apparently the shooter's perch, and you get an appreciation for what an open environment he was looking down onto in his commanding view of the Vegas Strip. The Strip itself has lost a lot of its step today. People are gingerly coming out, some going behind me to the pedestrian bridge to take a glimpse, but then moving on almost respectfully. We're going to hear from people who were in that field and in that concert venue last night, as each had to make the individual decision of what do I do in this horrible circumstance. So we'll have that tonight when we see you on NBC Nightly News. So now we'll send it back to you.
And coming up here on First at 5, the jurors have been selected, the death penalty thrown out. We're covering the capital murder trial for the Abilene mother accused of killing her newborn. The chilling details from inside the courtroom are later.
Rain makes a return visit to the Big Country from Tuesday evening through Wednesday night. Your forecast coming up next on Abilene's Local News.
This is KRBC, Abilene's local news at 5.
With Samantha Jones and Chief Meteorologist Randy Turner.